Because you are saying that the action is not impeachable. But are you aware that the monies were spent about 3 to 4 months ago, long before the presidency even transmitted a communication about spending this money to the National Assembly?
Yes, because the president had to act to beat the deadline. And we have said that over and over again.
No, Mr. Keyamo, you perhaps, I think maybe you're missing the point that I'm making. Sorry, if I may quickly clarify this. I'm saying that if the monies were spent 3 to 4 months ago, and the presidency just transmitted a letter 3 months down the line, can you explain this? Because those are the issues that have been raised here, that when you were spending the money, perhaps you should have immediately written. You're writing 3 months or 4 months down the line. Those are some of the questions some of these lawmakers are asking, Mr. Keyamo.
The president could not have waited for their consent, because if he wrote to the National Assembly at that time, it would mean that he was waiting for their consent. He was waiting for their consent to act. And he knew, of course, the kind of politics, in the National Assembly. I'm sure you know the kind of politics that's been happening there. They have been holding down nominees of the National Assembly, of the president. They have been trying to force his hand to do a number of things, that's within his powers to do. And so the president decided to do what he did in order to, save this country, from insurgency, in order to get those aircraft, by all means, to tackle insurgency. So the time, frame by which he now finally wrote to the National Assembly is neither really neither here nor there. The most important thing is that he had to inform them, thereafter. That's the most important thing. There's no constitutional time limit as to when you will inform the National Assembly as to what actions you have taken in order to save the country from insurgency.
So are you worried, Mr. Keyamo, that perhaps the political sagacity of the president is perhaps lacking, like some people have criticized, that, for example, if the APC is controlling the executive arm of government and is controlling the National Assembly, should the party be experiencing and the government be experiencing this kind of turmoil in governance?
Well, this is all part of political game. You remember that at the National Economic Council level, the president got the approval very easily. I mean, easily. It shows that, of course, the APC and the governors, present at the National Economic Council, they are completely in support of the president. There's absolutely no problem at that. There was absolutely no problem at that level. Those who are complaining that they did not accede to the request, why didn't they attend the meeting? Those governors of the PDP who said they did not consent, they gave the opportunity. They were invited to that meeting. They decided to stay away. And after having stayed away,
again, Mr. Keyamo, a major problem will be the Supreme Court judgment over this excess crude account. The legality of the excess crude account. That's another thing that a lot of people say is a legal infraction, isn't it?
Let me tell you something about the excess crude account and the importance of it. Like I said, these are things that are done under strict doctrine of necessity. Because in 2010, if you remember, there was a grave crisis, financial crisis, where there was a slump in oil prices. It was the savings in the excess crude account that made the country survive at that time. The crisis then would have been more than the one we experienced in 2016.
I'd like to pause it for a minute, Mr. Keyamo. Sorry, I'd like to pause it for a minute because we need to take a break. So when we come back, we'll discuss more on that. I will allow you to clarify this issue. Up next, 2019 is a race for the fittest, but in what context? We'll dissect that when we return. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Let's get back to our Abuja studio where Mr. Festus Keyamo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria and the spokesperson of the Buhari campaign organization. This is the first time you'll be speaking on television since the announcement of your appointment as a spokesperson of the group. And so let me allow you quickly to tidy up what you were saying about the legality of the excess crude account, considering the fact that there is a subsisting judgment of the Supreme Court over this account and the keeping of it.
The Supreme Court judgment is basically on a strict interpretation of the Constitution. that apart from the federation account, we should not maintain, there's no other account mentioned in the Constitution. But then the philosophy, that is why President Jonathan did it, that is why President Yar'Adua did it, that is why also Obasanjo also maintained the same account. The real philosophy behind this account is simply that we should not consume and divide and eat all we earn. Nobody in the world, no human being, no responsible father who presides over plenty of children and families would consume, would not have savings somewhere for the rainy days. If we put everything on the federation account and share everything at the end of the month, like Governor Fayose was saying, what would happen when we face grave financial crisis? Like I said, it was not 2010, it was 2008, when there was a sudden slump in oil prices. The country would have gone into a Great Depression. What happened? It was the excess crude account that made us survive at that time until oil prices began to rise again. And that was this is the problem we ran into in 2015. There was no savings. Okonjo-Iweala said so. There was no savings. And when the oil prices crashed in 2015, when this government took over, there was nothing to rely on.
Mr. Keyamo, let's quickly...
They consumed everything. The last government ate and shared the whole money.
Let's conclude the conversation tonight on the politics of 2019. Do you think that the Buhari candidate, as a candidate, still has the goodwill with Nigerian voters?
I think 2019, despite all what the naysayers are saying, will be the easiest election for the president than even 2015. And all the indices are there, the easiest election. Because since that time, the president has won over the hearts of other sections of the country at that time that may not have voted for him en masse. Between then and now, he had won their hearts. Look at the second Niger bridge. It is 40% complete. And they have expanded it from a 2-kilometer to a 7-kilometer, bridge at this time. They redesigned it. Look at, the railway tracks. They have increased them from single gauge to standard gauge, railway tracks. The one between even Abuja and Kaduna, and the one between Lagos and Ibadan is almost, 80% complete. So Nigerians would see, despite all of these negative thoughts here and negative, vibes here and there, that it will be the easiest election for the president more than that of 2015.
And you're not weary of the storm of the alternatives, the third force, and the new parties coming up, and all the names that we are hearing aside the PDP.
Now, let me tell you what Nigerians would have to decide at the end of the day. Now, I agree that there are so many Nigerians, qualified Nigerians, intelligent Nigerians, who are indicating their interest to run for the presidency of this country. And we have absolutely no problem with them. Now, but some of them are coming from backgrounds that have absolutely no knowledge in handling of public funds, absolutely no knowledge in the wielding of near absolute powers of the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Would Nigerians take a risk to elect somebody coming from nowhere, who has absolutely no history of the access to public funds? Don't forget that,
well, I'm afraid we're out of time, Mr. Keyamo.
Being eloquent has nothing to do with access.
We're out of time, I'm afraid.
Management of public funds.
All right. We need to go.
The integrity that is required to run public office.
Mr. Keyamo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, spokesperson of the Buhari campaign organization. Thank you so much for your time. And that's our show for today. Many thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Sheon Kimale. Bye-bye.